Hello, and welcome to Fallout Podcast episode 84. I love to dance, and it's Saturday again. It's a futile fall showdown, all 525 songs going head to head. Now in round 2, ultimate Hootsmon eras, split into 2 eras, 77 to 93 and 94 to 17. Thank you to Annotated for Few, Reformation Side, Track Record, Oh Brother Puritans, Falling Fives, and all them what fall. Tonight, M5 #1 versus Mountain Energy, Hexen Definitive / Strife Not versus Mess of My, and Inevitable versus Last Commands of Xyolthrep via Mark Edward Smith. Joined, as always, by Pip Billy Willy Rugby. Dear Dope, if you want to catch us, you're going to need a rod and a line, signed The Fish. How are you, Pippin?
I'm feeling very Gregorian. Thank you very much, sir.
Very nice. Lord Sage Temple, put your car in aquarium.
I would if I had a car. It's the best place for it.
You all good, Mr. Ezra?
Very well, thanks.
Good. Pemberton S. Walker, bring the wrath of the Druid quarters. How's Al?
Oh, all right. So, Pigeon getting its brains picked out by Seagull this week, which was fun.
Sharknado 6, Tiny Tim Twa, over there on the other side, Chris Barrett on holiday, and I'm Treebeards O'Shaughnessy, Waters Blocked by Dormant 3. Patreon chip-ins by Leon Jumblesale, Michael E, and Max W, who says, I've upgraded to voters' rights. Shit just got real. So yes, round 2. My plan to sell voters' rights. Let's see how this goes, because now we've got 2 of them. Let's hope they don't team up. Thankfully, their votes cancel each other out tonight, so that's good. So we got a guest coming on, Sean, but his shop's flooded. So when he sorted that out,
he's just getting his Sou'wester wellies on, isn't he? So he'll be here in about
an hour or 2, won't he? So then let's have a listen first up to M5 off Middle Class Revolt. Whatever year that was, 1994.
Oh, straight away, didn't I? Look at that, and you've disabled wine. I was supposed to play music.
All right, there you go, lad.
Shall we play a bit of the Peel one? Because it's tons better.
Cheers.
You never see me trying to raise cane. You'll never see me wear a suit of green. There's a slip road right up ahead, leading to the aggregarium. I'm city born and bred. Too many coffins in my head. Just a well-read peasant. But you think a countryman would understand?
The devil makes work for idle hands. As is customary, Pip, what do you think of M5?
Well, I'm glad we got a chance to play the Peel one in comparison, because I think there's a few things about this tune. First of all, it's a killer tune. Last time this knocked out Heat Pep. This is the tune that knocked Heat Pep out. I think listening to the Peel one, you can totally tell why, because it's a great, noisy, raspy keyboard riff that keeps coming in, and it just makes the whole thing. We've waxed lyrical so many times about that touch, that little keyboard touch that they know how to do with tunes, and we've got a few tonight actually where the keyboard comes in and just makes the song, and I think on that Peel version it works so well, that noise, and it's also a good indication as to some of the issues of that album, isn't it, where there's some great songs in it but the production kind of ruins it for a lot of people. When I listen to this, the first thing that stands out is just how big the sound is. It's like a soundscape. It feels to me more kind of big country than urban, and that's the kind of tension within the middle of the song, isn't it? This whole idea of the urban and the rural, and sort of the mix between the two. So I think it's quite a clever tune, this, and I'll let you two wax about the lyrics, but I think musically, this is one of the best tunes on that album, and that listening to the Peel version, you can hear why it could knock out something as amazing as Heat Pep.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've said it before, Middle Class Revolt gets a bad rap, but the first half of it, in my mind, is pretty solid. Reckoning Behind the Counter, M5, 15 Ways, that cover of War and stuff. Hey, he's here. Hi, Sean. How you doing?
Oh, yeah. We've got a leaky bog. There you go.
All right. We're just having a listen to the first song at M5. What's so Sean's a Wigan legend, and I got him on the show. Got him on the show because I heard that he hated the Fall. But
bit of a misnomer.
Yeah, in reality, we'll see, won't we? What is what are your thoughts on this group, these ruffians?
What, the Fall?
Yeah.
I mean, Mark was a cunt, but I mean, he thrived on that anyway. So anytime you ever saw him in Manchester and you went and talked to him, it went over, you could just see him kind of like the more that you adored him, which obviously a lot of people did whenever you saw him out, the more dismissive he was. So he just said to fuck off, basically. Oh, I'm a big fan, blah blah blah. Fuck off! I'm having a pint. So
yeah.
But I mean, I never went over and said, "You're a massive cunt, I hate you." He probably would have liked it. Probably. I don't know. I never tried it. He died before I got a chance. So there you go.
No, that's what happens, isn't it? If you wait too long.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I can't. It's not what I wake up every morning and think about, telling Marquis Smith to go and fucking throw himself in the canal. Do you know what I mean? But
Sean, you could get a Ouija board out and give it a go that way if you wanted. You know, never too late.
Maybe. I mean, I these things happen, don't they?
They do.
So yeah.
We've told this story before, but me and Phil were in a band and we were doing a night and day cafe and we were sound checking, and a doddery old chap comes in and he's sitting there with his pint, and it's Smith, isn't it? So we launch into our most Fall-esque song, and he just looks at us dismissively and walks out, leaves his pint on the table and literally just walks out the bar.
Yeah, that sounds about right. You try and please him and he's not going to like it.
No,
so if you'd have gone over and thrown a pint on him, he might have stayed.
Best mates. He probably could done some birthday party covers.
Should have tried a Pavement cover.
Probably.
You'd have been better off playing the Buzzcocks, but there you go.
Yeah. So Ezra, what do you reckon to this song? We just had to listen to the M5, Sean, the first song on that list. But Ezra, what do you reckon to that song?
Yeah. I mean, I'm more or less with Phil. I had a listen on headphones to all the songs today because with a young and easily frightened child, it's not always a good idea to blow them through the speakers. And I felt like it sounded much better on the headphones. But as is with most of the Middle Class Revolt, can barely hear the fucking drums. Maybe you can hear a snare every now and again, and there's no fucking bass at all. So it's a terrible fucking recording. The synth part, which on the Peel session is clearly a synth part, sounded almost like a guitar part on the actual album. But yeah, the tune is fucking strong as you need it to be. And the thing that I found interesting was like, where were we? So these lyrics here. So the man who pretends to know it, he knows it all, is destined for a mighty fall, gets into your house with cheer, then proceeds to take all you've got to offer. This is not an autobahn. It's an evil roundabout that leads to the hay swain, and you never see good trains again. So some not particularly, like a bit of off-piece rhyming there for Smith, which is always nice. And yeah, I was like, what's a hay swain then? And it turns out it was a big hay wagon from back in the day. And so the interesting thing here is, there are two paintings about hay swains. One of them is by John Constable, and it's like a kind of fairly revered, iconic hymn to agrarian culture in the UK. and the other one would be the Hieronymus Bosch triptych, which I might have wrote down in my notes, but I can't read my handwriting well enough to find out what the actual title is. But it's something like the Hay Swain's Journey or just the Hay Swain. But anyways, it's a triptych.
The Hay Swain triptych, apparently.
There we go. And it basically, it shows how you come from the state of grace of Adam and Eve, making the mistake of thinking you can plant apple trees and then going straight to hell, cutting out a few chapters in the middle. But yeah, and so, and this seems to be like what he's generally aiming at is this idea of like celebrating agrarian culture in the UK and like kind of painting it as something to be aspired to or returned to. I mean, I had no idea clogs came back in the 90s, but according to the annotated Fall, they did. Certainly didn't see anybody's wearing clogs around my town in the 90s, but maybe they did. I don't know. And so, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's interesting insofar as he puts himself as a city man who hates the countryside. And it's like, well, Mark, we didn't start off with cities. We did have to get through all that agrarian business in order to create cities. So it's just such an interesting stand to take that you would write a song about how, and not the only song, of course, about how much you hate agrarianism and returns to the roots is, conveniently overlooking the fact that you needed those roots is to get to your city. But yeah, smashing stuff. Funny as out.
Aye, indeed. He goes on about peasants a lot in Luciani, CNC, J Temperance, Curious Orange, New Puritan, and a bunch of other places. He likes to.
He's a well-read punk peasant, isn't he?
He is indeed. Sean, do you want to have a listen to this song again, or do you know which one we're talking about?
No idea what you're talking about at all.
Give us a blast of M5, Pip.
All right.
For the man.
I'll pop the P.O.D.C.A.S.T one on because it's the best one.
Okay.
That'll do. So the people listening, they've just played that. So they're just playing the same songs over and over again. Sean, what do you make of that song by Fall?
Well, all the songs sound the same to me anyway. So the majority of them, everything just sounds like a bit of a dirge, which you might think is a bit strange coming from someone who likes listening to dirges. But it doesn't. The trouble with it for me is it doesn't have any hooks. Just doesn't pull me in at all. It's neither poppy enough to have the melody to draw me in, and it's definitely not hard enough sounding to be crazy, wacky, zany. Look at me with me 18 pedals. It just. But do you know what? I'm not the man I used to be, so I don't hate it anymore. It just kind of washes over me a bit like rain. It's just there. It's just a thing that just, like I said, I didn't want to switch it off because I listen to Radio 6 a lot these days, and the stuff that comes on there just drives me fucking bananas. All that mumbling dog shit that people claims rapping these days is like, it does me boxing. It's like, yeah, it's mumblecore, it's great. It's just some fella talking about going in the shops and buying a packet of Jaffa cakes for fucking 5 minutes. It's bollocks. So that I hate that. The Fall's just fallen the wayside for being irritating. Doesn't irritate me anymore like it used to. So yeah, But there is, I mean, from all the tunes that he did, the Fall. There's maybe 6 or 7 that I quite like. Hit the North's a good tune. That's got quite a good hook to it. What else is there? I mean, there's a couple of covers that he did. All right. So yeah, I mean, like I say, it's not. I just don't understand the fascination with it. The same way that I don't understand the fascination with a lot of things that people are obsessed with. I don't. Popular culture in general doesn't seem to get me the same way that it does everybody else. I don't know.
Fair enough. Al, this is rubbish, Al, isn't it?
Well, the LP version sounds a bit like U2. The guitar on it is bloody awful. But like the Peel session version, like they're using, you can actually hear some like definition with the effects that they're using, which is all right. That with the keyboard's pretty good, and there's like a fairly solid sort of like rhythm section going on it. You got like the big sound kind of like boiling away in the background, but I can see what Sean's saying about it. Kind of like it kind of just mushes up a little bit, but there is a bit of a hook in there. There's energy to it. Don't really like middle class revolt too much, but yeah, just the vocal delivery. It's a nice sort of chilled, reflective kind of love song to London from Mark Smith, because everybody knows that he loved London.
I'm not sure it's so much of a love song for him though. Really, it's just because did he have much love for anything?
I was taking the piss, Sean.
Oh, sorry.
Loved potatoes, loved his pint, loved his mam. That's about it.
Yeah.
His sisters.
Yeah, they're quite keen on Rain, apparently.
Rain and an Italian house with the big pianos.
I don't know if he had an opinion on that or not. Who knows? Again, maybe Al can get his Ouija board out, find out for us.
Why? So I quite liked it though, kind of especially that Peel session version, some nice driving rhythms, but yeah, it's mild stuff, isn't it, really, at the end of the day? And like you say, it's that production, which the Peel session's a bit nicer, and a nice bed of guitar and synth playing off against each other, sweet, and Sly on that funky snare. It's all a bit jittery. You'll never see me try to raise Cain, but you think a countryman would understand that the devil makes work for idle hands. Apparently, to be a real gentleman, you never wear brown shoes in the city, never wear a green suit, never have soup at lunch, and never use a comb. So W.H. Auden said.
I'm fine. I'm fine with that. Then.
Passed all those tests. I'm a pure gentleman. Leon says, I prefer the single version without the synths, goblin funkabilly, he calls it. And then he goes off for a bit about a man called Oliver Payton from Britain's Greatest Menu who wore green suits. Max says it's an absolute banger from not the best 90s album. Do the idle hands belong to people stuck in tailbacks or to country folks? What does Tim think over there?
Well, he has got quite a bit to say. He's put a song of two halves for me. I really like the scree-like filtered guitar that creates a really nice texture, and the overall rhythm of things is nice enough. But the underlying guitar chug and production are really indie and flaccid. Some nice turns of phrase, but all a bit naff and limp like the rest of the record.
I like it.
I'm going to push back on something Sean said though, because I do think this has got it's got a nice keyboard hook that comes in. I didn't play the Peel version, actually, my mistake. I played the album version then, but which is worth listening to. But it's also got this really subtle lyrical line that he keeps throwing in. We've talked a few times about how Smith conjures stuff from nothing. And it says M5, 6-7 p.m. And he just that little turn of phrase, I think, is just, it's very clever, it's very gentle, it's very poetic, and it's just very atmospheric given what he's talking about, sort of driving down the motorway, the liminal space between the countryside and the urban and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I think it's worth giving this song a bit of a chance.
Nicey. Breaking news just in. Krishnan Guru Murphy is going to be on the new season of Strictly Come Dancing. Seen that interview that he does?
Why?
Why? This song is up against Mountain Energy off Real New Fall LP 2003. Let's have a listen to its competitor, its competition.
Sorry, Gary Glitter.
Mr. Blasto and Mr. Partridge, they said to me to get a mortgage, you need an income letter. I thought it was free.
Indeed. Nice. Ezra What makes you of Mountain Energy?
It's a nice one. They recorded the drums decently, at least. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem to be about as much. I mean, it's just about how the energy's coming from the mountain, getting blocked by things like lapse of income lids and trees, and that stops some things from happening that maybe should happen. Musically, it doesn't put a foot wrong, like Country on the Click. It's a strong album, but I don't feel like there's that much in the lyrics, and I don't feel like there's that much in his delivery of them either. But yeah, you know, it's fair enough. It's a jam, I suppose.
Jam on toast, isn't it? But what, Sean? What did you make of that delightful fall tune?
Well, like I say, it sounded like Gary Glitter to me, but I can do that. Yeah. Hang on a second. This is a podcast thing.
Are you at work? Your shop's open.
I'm at work,
right
yeah.
Now?
Just had some customers come in. Sorry, who didn't want to really have me talking about Gary Glitter. It's not very good for business these days. That's what the drums sounded like. The actual drums sounded like something Gary Glitter would do, but then it just didn't do anything like Gary would have done, unfortunately. But I'm not trying to say that he's a good man. Well, indeed, yeah. You really don't want to follow his. Well, I mean, I don't want to follow either of the paths, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm fucking grumpy enough as it is, without trying to fucking make it any worse. The song, again, I mean, it didn't offend me. I mean, and in a way, I think that's probably one of the worst things that you could say to Marky Smith, is that it was just not. It didn't do much of anything to me. It didn't offend me. It didn't want me to. I didn't want to throw pots of piss at him. If I was seeing him play live, I'd have probably just been stood at the bar having a drink while he plodded on with his. You know, what year was it from that?
2003.
Oh, right, okay. So yeah, I mean, he could have done that 10 years earlier, and he still wouldn't have been very progressive with it, would he? Really? Yeah. To be honest, it was just plodding along, bit of a strumming. I mean, I don't know how deep he was into being an alky at that point. Probably quite a lot. So everything's written on the back of fag packets, isn't it? So when you're in the pub, not a rehearsal. So that's me done for that one. I think. I don't know if that was any good for you or not.
That was good. I'll make some notes and pass them on to Mark about his professionalism.
The other thing I was going to say was recently, about 3 or 4 years ago, Bricks came in the shop, and I can't remember what we sold. We sold her some clothes anyway. I think she wanted a corset, whatever. She was playing at Band on the Wall, and a mate of mine knows her, so sent her and said, "Oh, go in there, blah blah blah." She was really fucking miserable.
Right.
She was in for about an hour. And no matter what we said, she just went. I mean, I did sell her something in the end, but she was a proper miserable cow. So there you go. I think that's about the only.
If they talked to her about pugs, you'd have been all right.
Probably, yeah. But I think that's about all I've got really. Apart from I used to see Marky Smith every morning when I came to work. He was in Trough because it was the earliest place to open. But as I walked to work, he was sat in the window, and it was either him or it was Sean Ryder sat in the same seat.
Which is kind of. I'll do Monday, possibly. Wednesday, Friday.
Maybe they did. Maybe they had musical chairs going with it. I don't know. Whoever's tune was on the jukebox got to stay in that day. But yeah, that was kind of weird as you walk past the same split seat, and it was either Marky Smith or Bleeding Sean Ryder sat in the same seat. Kind of odd, but there you go. So yeah, I think that's me done for that tune though.
The insight. I didn't expect this level of insight.
There you go. It's all personal.
Pull back the curtain. Pulling back the curtain for us in the seedy world of Manchester.
Working in Manchester for 15 years, you pick up these bits and bobs, don't you? So, and the only other time I ever used to see him was in Dry Bar. So, Marky Smith. I used to go in Dry Bar, and that was like, I don't know, late 90s sort of thing. He was always in there. So, funny enough, I watched Thingy the other day. I watched 24-Hour Party People for the first time last week.
Right.
Never watched it because it always looked fucking diabolical. It looked like it was an absolute pile of shit. And as it turns out, I was right. It was fucking unwatchable, fucking horse shit. I hated every minute.
Well, I thought Coogan was funny as Wilson, and I liked Gollum as Martin Hannett.
if you go back and watch, if you go, I mean, it must have looked horrible when it came out, but in retrospect, looking at how it's filmed, the actual filmmaking capacity, the screen looks horrible all the way through. It's filmed. I could have done better on a Nokia. Seriously, it looks awful. And the acting in it is practically non-existent. But what I was going to say was the only good part about that film is the footage of inside Dry Bar and Hacienda, which are both gone. Dry Bar's not there anymore, and obviously Hacienda's famously not there, which is quite good if you never went in there. But it was quite good seeing the interiors of them places that you used to go to, and now you can't go to them. That was the only plus point. Everything else, and as well, every time I met what's his name as well, who Coogan played in fucking Tony Wilson. Yeah, I hated him as well. The few times I met him, I really disliked him as well. So I really disliked him. I thought he was a fucking cock. But there you go. And actually, on that note, I once did a tour of the band, and the guy who was the tour manager was a really good mates with Tony Wilson. And one of the first things, I don't know how it came up, but one of the first things that came up was, I think it was just after he died, actually, Tony Wilson. I was like, yeah, I met him a few times. He's a fucking massive bell end him. He was one of my best friends. Yeah, he was quite upset. I said, well, I'm not apologising, because every time, the 3-4 times I met him, he was absolutely so dismissive. And I was a teenager, and he was just like, fucking this. I'm like, fuck off. Don't be a fucking prick. But there you go. I think that's the extent of it. I think that's all you're going to get out of me story-wise.
Fair enough. We'll dig deeper as we go further. But Al, what do you think of this song about mountains?
I don't mind this one. It's quite sort of minimal. You've got that sort of like glam rock like drum thing which Sean picked up on, but I thought the bass line was quite monksy, and if you listen to like the guitar effects, it's like the trem on it is a bit kind of like Link Rare. And I do kind of like the way that the keys and the guitar sort of like drop in and drop out, and it's mostly sort of like rhythm section going on, but it's like dead minimal, quite pleasant, quite sparse.
Indeed, quite nice. You can't hear that, right? You can't hear me playing that tune.
Oh.
No. So, what does Tim think to this song?
Well, I'll tell you. He's put, this one has a great sound and makes the most of plodding feel. Great backing vocals and a nice shifting overall instrumental texture. I think the lyrics are a bit questionable and a little embarrassing in places, and I always cringe at the fish thing for some reason. Feels really out of place to me. Overall, a good track.
Fish thing's particularly bad. In a tune that I really do quite like, although it's not one of my favorite ones on the album. But yeah, there's a Prince song where he does the joke. He sings the joke. Why is your organ so small? I'm sorry, I did not know I'd be playing in a cathedral. And it's like there's no need for that kind of humor in rock and roll music. I like the toms start, and there's like the bass is a little bit distorted, setting up for mezz, and it's quite minimal. It's quite low, and then you get those sweet backing vocals and those oohs and those and Smith's got it's got a kind of mountain flowing kind of vibe. They said to get a mortgage you need an income. I thought it was free. Dolly Parton and Lord Byron, they said patriotism is the last refuge, and now it's me. And the water is flowing down the mountain, but a tree is blocking the water.
Why does he attribute the quote to Dolly Parton and Byron? Because I thought it was an Oscar Wilde quote about patriotism is the last refuge of the scoundrel.
Samuel Johnson. Samuel Johnson, I heard, was who said patriotism is the last refuge of the scoundrel. So I don't know.
They all said it.
They all said it, didn't it? Edison
you just said it then, Brendan. I heard you.
Yes, you said it, yeah.
I said it first.
But I think he's actually meaning, he's saying that now the last refuge is me. Like, patriotism is the last refuge of MES.
Okay.
You can see why Dolly Parton might say that, right?
She implies it in a lot of her songs.
She certainly does.
MES, VICE. Yeah, exactly. One of the best tracks from their best 2000s album, low-key glam stomp about financial warnings and credit. Great vibe, says. But what does Phil think about this tune? That's what's important.
I think it's really nicely put together, this. I think the construction of it, the arrangement of the tune is quite clever. they do something a little bit different with it. I know what, for those more sort of dissenting voices like Ezra and that, it's not the greatest tune they've ever done, but I do think it's got a lot going for it. And I think the keyboard riff, just like the last one, is kind of what brings it all together. I think it's a really lovely motif, that. And I think it's another example of how they kind of miss Eleni when she goes. I think they work so well together, this band with Eleni, and that it's you can always tell when she's not there. It's a big gap. But yeah, I like this tune. I quite like the lyrics to this. I think the sort of mundane to the zen kind of stuff is quite nice. In fact, on the album, he's got a nice touch.
With the stuff about the financial stuff, I mean, Ben Wallace, who was on last week, nailed it miles better with the lyric, "Watch while the credit system fucks you in the ass."
Indeed. And on that bombshell, so whenever you can hear this.
To get a bus and town's too far away, but I've got my head in last week's milk. I'll read the paper from yesterday. There ain't no entry for you, my friend. We don't want your cat round here, no. There ain't no entry for you, my friend. Your sort are kind of queer.
It seems like Dave Milner, who was the bit of the drummer, was came up with that original riff, and he posted that demo somewhere at some point. So Hip Priest, thanks for sharing that. It's quite nice. Have we heard from everyone? We've not heard from Tim yet, have we?
Yeah, we have.
Right, let's time for a vote then. M5 or Mountain Energy? Pip?
I'm going for M5.
Nice. Max has gone for M5 and Michael E has gone for Mountain Energy. I'm also going for M5. Sean, which way are you going? Which one of these two brilliant tracks should go through to the competition?
Christ, I didn't know this. I didn't know it was this kind of a show. I didn't know I had to choose one or the other.
Oh, it is. But you can say none of the above. Split your votes.
Can I go for the last song that guy did?
Yeah, you can have the Dave Milner demo.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that, I think. That sounds like something Votel might have put out, so I'm going to go with that.
It does, doesn't it? It likes not so much his vocals, but definitely the backing tracks got that nice.
I thought it sounded a bit like Lee Hazelwood or something like that, kind of that sort of sing background stuff.
Fair enough. Alistair, which way are you going?
Give me some energy.
All right, and what about Tim?
So he's given M5 1.5 and Energy 2.
Oh,
Energy.
You know what that does? That brings it down to a vote, doesn't it?
Ooh.
Oh, I haven't voted.
How about the Patreon voters?
Has Ezra voted yet?
I haven't.
Oh, he's go on, Ezra. That saved us from the. Go on.
That Milner track was interesting, and I'm now wondering if the song on the album is credited to like the studio Milkman or something. But I'm going to go for M5 #1.
Yeah. All right. So M5 goes through. Mountain is nice, but I don't know. Like pretty much all of Real New Fall tracks went through to the second round, but I think a chunk of them might not make it to the third. So we're up against an early one here now from Perverted by Language, 1983. Hexen Definitive Strife Note. Magic of television.
Seamless.
He's disappeared.
This is the best bit.
Where's he gone?
You're spoiling it.
We're back on.
Yeah.
Oh, again. It's a different.
What happens if you get mail?
Tied up the posts, blindfold soak on film maintenance, cut back, I foul that thick, got all the damn wet. Businessman hits train, businessman hits train. There's but the journey takes 1 hour. And it's a Hexen hour, Hexen school, Hexen custom, Hexen bowl.
Alistair, Hexen hour, definitive, Strife not.
Yeah, I'm quite like this, but I mean, it's the sort of era that I'm really into, where you've got like two drummers going on. Again, it's dead sparse. Is there any bass on this one?
Comes in at the end.
Like it.
Comes in at the end, yeah.
When it goes on to the Strife not part in the last minute or so, there's some bass comes in.
I'm not great with lyrics. I always get them wrong, but this is the one where it said, "Don't mistake yourself with someone who has something to say," which I thought was like pretty witty line. But it can be a pretty witty writer. But yeah, do you like it? Do you like this era? So in my books, it's a good one. It's good walking music. Reminds me of sort of getting piss wet through walking down a canal sometime in about 1992.
Fair enough. Sean, what about this gem?
Didn't mind it, actually. Didn't mind it. Had a kind of a country kind of jangle going on. I mean, there wasn't much. I kind of like the first sort of 30 seconds. Thought it could have done with an actual song being thrown in instead of just that first 30 seconds. To be honest with you, I can't remember how it finishes. The list that you sent me, I listened to it on Monday. I've completely forgotten it all. But I didn't mind it. Actually, what thing you said before, Phil, that kind of sounded a bit like Lee Hazelwood to me. And I like a bit of Lee Hazelwood, but it just had some fella who sounded like a frog croaking over the top of it. So
fair enough. Moody bells, and it's got a nice loose lazy riff for me. I like this grey wet sloth, and then the beat comes in, a nice minimal scratchy guitar. And yeah, like I get what you're saying, Al, about a walk in the rain. I think this song actually like makes me feel like I'm going for a long walk in the rain. And not sure if we nearly need the Strife not bit at the end. I think Mez knows it too, as he starts kind of shouting and trying to ham it up a little bit. But there's some nice noises at the end. But first 3 minutes, the Hexen definitive part, yeah, it does it for me. Tied up to posts, blindfold so you can't feel the maintenance, kickback. Aren't you that thick? Death of the dimwit. Businessman hits train. His veiled sex seeps through management sloth. The journey takes 1 hour. What does Tim think of this?
So he's put real black magic mattress shit mumbled from the side of a burly functioning mouth on a grimy rain-coated figure walking through Hardwick at 1:30, conjures unwanted images and feels open and cavernous but with zero visibility. I adore the muted string sounds, and lyrically it's inspired. The quiet entry of the bass guitar at around the 4th minute mark is wonderful. Masterpiece.
What about Ezra? Masterpiece?
Yeah, I would say so, actually. Like, there's such a nice mood to this song. And I think it's a mood that comes across on the album in general. And for me, it's a kind of mood of anxiety. It's just like hangover rock, like when you've been out and you've had far too much, and the next day you're in that kind of like really kind of frame of mind, and then you have to go to work, and all kinds of things will be seeping through your management sloth on the train. I think it's fucking brilliant. And again, like going back to what Phil mentioned, it's this idea of the liminal space. It's almost like a kind of an interim purgatory between the paradise of your breakfast and the hell of your work, or vice versa, as it can be. And from the wonderful annotated Fall, I have a Mark Fisher quote: "Social power depends upon hexes, restricted linguistic, gestural, and behavioral codes, which produce a sense of inferiority and enforce class destiny." And, I mean, we've spoken about William Burroughs before, and I really think that this is the main connection between Smith and Burroughs, is more so than the like kind of cut up or collaged like ideas of the music and the lyrics in the Fall and in Burroughs's prose, is this understanding of the power of language and using it in the fall songs as a way to kind of reveal and comment on that, I think is something that they have very, very much in common with Bill Burroughs.
Indeed, I think what that quote you said is from Memorex from the Kraken, the Mark Fisher essay, which I think we're going to look at some point, hopefully. It takes grace to play the second fiddle well, scab-ridden psychog, the crusty knife. Leon says it's just incredible. Basic but evocative Scanlan riff, muddy mez vocals, downcast with a scab-ridden psychog, while Max thinks melancholy feel when the percussion and hats lagging behind as if recorded on the morning after Graham Friday. Seamless. So beautiful stuff all in all, and it's up against something that was only ever done as a Peel session, which is Mess of My from 78. Let's have a listen to that.
It's like you don't care what I think, isn't it?
What
you
do you
did this to me last week. You did this to me last week as well. Is it? Am I so forgettable to you? Is that?
Phil, what do you think of this song?
I think I love this. I think it's really beautiful.
Is that enough? Have you said everything now? Moving on.
I was quite looking forward to listening to what Ezra had to say about this, because I remember last time we waxing lyrical about it, and he sort of swayed me quite a lot. I'm trying to remember what it came up against last time, because I think I voted the opposite way. But I really love how it's put together. All the stuff Ezra was saying about Burroughs and witchcraft and all that kind of thing. I totally agree with. But it's such a. I tell you what it reminds me. It reminds me of really early James stuff and the way that they used to construct stuff on stutter and things like that. Maybe that sort of Mancunian folk thing that was going on at the time. But yeah, I really love this. I think it's great.
Nice. It was up against Gutter the Quantifier, which it is a nice tune, but I don't think it holds a candle to this one. It's a menace of the Hexen Hour. I always remember it being on Hex Induction Hour because of the title, but it's not. Perverted by language. But let's have a listen to Mess of My 78. Alrighty. What about Timothy over there on the other side? Do you like this one?
So he's put a prime slice of early fall in sort of a kitchen sink drama form. Glimpses into terraced wreck. Nice arrangement for the era too, and the Peel version on the playlist is superb. Really good stuff, but it's not Hexen.
It's not Hexen, you're right. I think it's insulting that he says you get note of your choice, ladies and gentlemen, like he's giving them freedom when you know full well that no one does anything in the fall unless Smith tells you to. Keyboard stabs against the guitar, some spirited mez, drum fill intrigue, and a nice kind of breakdown B section. But for me, it doesn't take off. It doesn't do it. And I don't like that phrase "mess of my." I don't know. Something about it that irks me. Inadequate writers, methadone stubbies. You get energy vampires, hands on the tranquilizers. The dream was about taking some terrorists out, bombs, etc. Apparently written by Eric the Ferret, his player, and Mark Riley, going back to the brilliant Six music, Mark Riley said this is his favourite fall song that he played on, and he wants it played at his funeral, if anyone can make that happen. Sean, what did you make of this?
You mean so he wants somebody to kill him?
That's what I was thinking. That's definitely what he's saying to me.
Listen, if you hear that, that's what you hear. That's not what I'm not saying that. I'm not.
He was definitely saying that.
Well, he said it. Matt Riley said it. No, I'm not blaming Brendan.
Let's just say it's open to interpretation.
Hey, Sean, you put Matt Riley on once, didn't you, in Wigan?
Yeah. Yeah, he did. Yeah, do you know what? I met him not that long ago when Dave was doing doing that Frank Sidebottom documentary, because he interviewed him for that. So nice, lovely fella, actually, lovely fella, much nicer than Frank was. But there you go. Do you know what? I didn't mind that track either that much either. I don't remember when I played it that it reminded me as much of Pelmet as it did when I played it on the proper speakers upstairs as it did on the phone. It kind of reminded me of Helmet, like early Helmet to me, and just the repetition of the riff. And it didn't do anything. I mean, I can't remember the rest of the song, but I presume it doesn't do anything, which is why it sounds. It's one, and as well, it kind of reminded me of Lightning Bolt. So they only have one riff. So like a song starts off and like, this is quite good, but by the end of it, I'm bored to tears with it. So I don't know. By the end of the song, maybe I would have been, fiddling with me fingernails. Who knows? But I did. The first 30 seconds, I kind of liked how it sounded. So I haven't got anything deeper to say about it than that. But I don't know what the lyrics are about. It's probably just about, I don't know, copping off with a bird or something. Who knows?
It's actually, these are the lyrics. I'll read them for you now. I just copped off with a bird. She was a proper looker.
Was she a goer?
Swore she was a right goer. Those are the lyrics. Yeah.
All right. No mention of Big Ange then.
That comes a bit later, isn't it? Phil, what do you make of Mess of Mine?
I've just reflected on Sean's insights there for this song. Yeah, it's so the punky stuff I'm not as big a fan on. I think this is one of the better ones from that early period. It's not my favourite stuff, but I think Mark's performance is really good. I'm with you that his lyrics are not top form. There's some funny stuff going on in there, but it's not his best work. And I think it's all right. It's an all right tune, this, but it's not doing it for me today, I don't think.
No, I think what it might stand out is it's one of the first early long form ones that, like we say in past, they eventually reach tempo house and things like that, where they're able to kind of sustain that interest. This is kind of one of the earliest times they do
like a sketch.
Something like a sketch, like a first draft, if you will. But what does Ezra think of Mess of Mine?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this one. I mean, for their early stuff, it's great, and it's got that kind of dilated swing to it, which I think really, for me personally, it really draws me into the song. And yeah, of course, we've got the line where he's talking about cabbage, and that kind of births a whole kind of lyrical DNA coming up through from there, on into pumpkin soup and mashed potatoes, and finally arriving at systematic abuse with the same old potato. And so, yeah, again, I'm sorry I'm taking a lot off the annotated for today, but there's a marvelous Hegel quote from his Philosophy of Right, published 1820. Some who are thought to be taking a profound view are heard to say that everything turns upon the subject matter and that the form may be ignored. The business of any writer, and especially of the philosopher, is, as they say, to discover, utter, and diffuse truth and adequate conceptions. In actual practice, this business usually consists in warming up and distributing on all sides the same old cabbage. Ooh. So there we have it. And to just refer back to the original lyrics, I remember the times this was a new beginning. I remember the times this was a beginning of a permissive new age, but it's the same old cabbage. And I like songs which refer to vegetables.
Indeed. Is this could have gone on Witch Trials, but they decided not to, and I think it was probably a wise choice in the end. But it is a lost classic, but I've got a feeling it's not going much further in this competition. Alistair, what do you got to say for Mess of Mine?
I kind of agree with what you're saying, Brendan. It's not quite up to scratch. I mean, I like the verse, the dead repetitious riff, but I think the chorus really lets it down. But there's stuff there that it's very kind of like embryonic fall sound, and I do quite like the way that it's this sort of like really long extended tom fills and stuff like that, which again is just very sort of like typical of the witch trials type era. Yeah, it's all right. It's functional, but it's one of those that it's probably one of the first that they dropped it from the LP, but probably one of the first that they dropped from the live set in favour of stronger songs that they had.
Yeah, indeed. So it's time to take a vote. Vote. We've got Hexen Definitive versus Mess of My. Which way, Pip?
I'm just looking at the invisible ones. He's cheating again, with the score.
Go on.
He's given Messerman 2.5 and Hexen 50.
Whatever.
Pretty sure that's not in the rule.
Which way are you going?
I went Hexen.
Yeah, me too. Al?
I'll go for Mess of Mine 2.5 and Hexen Death 50.
FCOM 50. Sean, which way are you going?
Probably a pair of cherries.
Indeed. And what about you, Ezra?
Life is strife.
Isn't it? Goes through, doesn't it? Easy days. Good times.
Nah, I'd go with Hexen actually, but only slightly, because I actually didn't mind either of them. So I actually didn't hate either of them. But I kind of like the country jangle of the Hexen. So
fair enough. Good. So it's an easy. It's a route, and both our Patreon people went with Hexen in the end. Easy. All right, last showdown of the evening. We got Inevitable off Marshall's Suite, which was 1999, and then Xyolthrep from 2003. Let's have a listen to Inevitable. Billy Rigby?
Yes.
What do you think of the song Inevitable by The Fall?
I love the way he sings Saturday.
Everyone loves that bit.
It's to me, that's kind of one of the starts of him really starting to experiment with his voice a bit more, isn't it? It's one of these kind of more creative styles of singing. I like what Neville Wilding's doing on the guitar. I think this album's all a bit experimental in its own way, and he's doing something a little bit different again, but I think it works. It's got a bit of what was the song Prince did? Raspberry Beret, is it? That sort of pop psychedelia kind of feel to it, which I think is nice, a bit unexpected, a bit trippy, which is good. And I think it's Julian Nagel really who's the standout on this track. It's a nice little pop tune. Yeah.
It is nice. I'm wondering what Sean would think of it when you talked earlier, Sean, about a couple of the early ones being pretty meh and bland. I think this takes that even further. What do you reckon to this track?
I agree with what year did you say that was?
This is 99, so a couple of years before that Mountain Energy one, and a couple of years after that first track.
Complete pop. That I thought it was an absolute pile of shit. It was him after he'd tasted a modicum of success, and then it just all went to his head. And basically, he was in the studio. He said, "Anything that I do, it has to be louder than anything else that gets recorded." So his voice was drowning absolutely everything out. Yeah, I hated it.
Good stuff, though, right?
No, not good at all. The opposite of good. I mean, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Teardrop Explodes from 20 years earlier, but done with his voice being louder than all the rest of the instruments. That's what it reminded me of. And I don't particularly like Teardrop Explodes either. So,
Hope gets a kick in one of the other songs, but I'll put you down as a maybe.
Yeah, I could be swayed with money, probably.
Ezra, what do you make of this track?
Oh, I fucking love it. Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, and the reason I think it's great is because I think it's fucking hilarious and it's just ridiculousness. I feel like they were trying to fucking record something that they could sell to like a drug awareness video to be shown in schools about the dangers of washing ecstasy, because the lyrics are just total fucking doggerel. and he sounds like he's done about 3 pills and like half a bottle of whiskey, and is just like, oh, Saturday, yeah. And you've got this kind of like paisley fucking psychedelia like kind of keyboard line going on through it. I'm just like, what is this nonsense? It makes no sense whatsoever. But you've got to love it for what it is, like a very ugly child that you've just given birth to.
Yeah, everyone loves the way he says Saturday. It made me think of Smith talked about his Saturday routine, which I always found was delightful. Where he would get up and he would smoke a few fags and listen to records for most of the day, and then go to the pub. It seems like a nice way to spend a Saturday. Funky sized boots and cats keep it bouncing, says Max. Cheeky Nagel's Keys, loopy bass. It's a quiet LP track, and I think it's sweet. But am I here for this? But I do like how it meanders and ambles along, and I'd listen to that all day. And I think they could do this all day. I think this could just absolutely be the F.A.L.L.O.U.T.P.O.D.C.A.S.T on autopilot for like they could do a 10-hour version of this track, and it's Why So Mild. Turn it up and distort it all. Put it in the red, as I would say, is what I was thinking. But I like it. It's got its charm. What does Alistair think?
Yeah, I think it's quite charming in its own way. Like you got like I really like the drums on it. Even though it's just dead simple, sort of like side keeping the rhythm, but there's like a bit of a dancey lilt to bits of it. It's dead unfussy, dead sort of like spacious. Like the way that the like Nagel's synth keeps on coming in, dropping out. Again, it just sort of like really good timing, some nice structure there. I agree with Sean, vocals too loud. But yeah, all the way through, you got a nice bass line holding it down. I think it's a fairly decent song, and it don't sound too much like a lot of other F.A.L.L.O.U.T.P.O.D.C.A.S.T stuff. Really, like it's not a bad one.
Sean can't believe it. He's thinking, what's going on here? That I've just listened to a pile of dog shit, and then all of these people are talking about how brilliant it is with its funky 90s dance stuff going on.
That's people for you. They all have their own opinions. Nobody listens to me.
Shouldn't do. What about Tim?
He shouldn't. That's correct. He shouldn't.
What does Tim think?
He's always got a bit of time for this stuff, hasn't he? Really great track. I love the swagger of it, the cheap samples and that fat bouncing bass line. Maybe my favourite of the sort of skanky Perry things. There's magic in the vocal too, really meaty in some undefinable way, even though it sounds weirdly processed. I could have happily taken an album of this. The overall production is dreadful, but in a good way.
Yeah, Nagel's Marshall Sweet's Nagel's child, we know that, and she it's definitely got her fingerprints, and there's some charm there. Has everyone had a go now? Has everyone said something about that? Fair enough. So it's up against Xyolthrep via MES off Real New Fall album 2003.
Bang bang on Coco Baba. Coco Baba, Hector. Vocal testaments of MES coming from the little town of Spec Master. Cash, the eternal fork out to keep everything normal is well beyond the capacity. All monies will try and escape thee. Beware of thy lazy right hand. This is the focal of MES, Locus, and
Indeed. Last song of the evening, Sean, you're up first as our esteemed guest. Surely this is an absolute classic.
Does anybody know what the guy was talking about at the beginning? The sample? Because he said like what?
Coco Baba.
I thought he was asking for a Kit Kat.
I think he was. I think he was asking for a Kit Kat.
I thought that was what he was. I thought he was saying, "Where's my Kit Kat? Get me a fucking Kit Kat."
You can't sing. You can't play. You're going away.
Yeah, but can you dip it in your brew? That's the most important thing. Yeah. I mean, does the rest of the song do anything? Does it just do that? Like
Chairman Mao, just love the repetition.
I mean, it sounded like it was going to do something, but it's not necessarily always the case, is it, with the Fall? Sometimes it just kind of gives up halfway through.
They kind of layer.
It come through progressively.
Yeah.
Okay.
It layers up bits and bobs, but it doesn't change.
It doesn't. Yeah. Okay. All right. I mean, it wasn't as terrible as the last song. I mean, it was. I kind of liked the bit about the Kit Kat at the beginning. Made me think I actually need another cup of tea. If I'm being honest with you. So yeah, I think it's time for a brew. I think.
Big T's got their fingers into Smith finally, haven't they? What about
a normal size cup of tea? Just a normal size cup. Nothing,
nothing
not
extravagant.
athlete cup. Just a regular brewage. Yeah,
Wait a cup of
So,
tea. Chance would be a fine thing.
What I mean, it sounded like. I mean, it definitely sounded like the Fall to me. In as much as it's again like it just kind of washed over me, and it just sounded like Marky Smith half cut that, and made me think about Kit Kat. So it's probably a winner.
Win-win. What does Tim think about this song?
So, Bang Baba Coco Baba, more magical maize, but this time delivered from a rotting pulpit, or maybe scratched into a table in some godforsaken pub. Whoever did the arrangement for these later RNFLP tracks deserves a medal. They're so beautifully orchestrated. This just builds and builds and then falls away. A second masterpiece of the day.
Indeed, masterpiece. As Ezra, would you use that word?
Yeah, it's definitely getting there. I mean, I like the Xyolthrep or Hotep. I would like to know if that's an actual language, or if it is just two rats arguing about a Kit Kat in the alley at the beginning of the song. That really concerns me. The authenticity or lack thereof of that. But number 2, deploreth thy real God. He mutters incomprehensibly, still on job 1 with alloys. The calibrator in a cave, not yet invented or constructed. This is your vessel, EMS, or MES, from he to you. This one, MES procured. Mountains, waters blocked by dormant tree. See later on this LP. He does another nice, somewhat redundant rhyme at the end of that as well. So yeah, it's good. And like I say, it needles all the way through. It's definitely a contender for a Halloween triumph. Good.
Indeed. And it's a list song, and there's some great advice in there, such as avoid fat, aggressive men and handsome, aggressive men in conflict. They disappear overnight with bad back. Cod science, cod psychology is to be avoided, but do not make your enig noise public, as it will bring the wrath of the Druid quarters. But what about Alistair?
Yeah, it was interesting what Sean was saying before about it sounding a bit like lightning bolts, like with the other songs, because that riff could be a lightning bolt riff if they played it twice as fast with a full-on bass drum thing and some sort of distorty shouting over the top of it. But it's like a fairly standard guitar riff that builds up, and I like the sort of gibberish at the beginning. So yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, nice building up over the course of the song. I do like it. I like the jittery nature of the track. But for me, it's the lyrics that stand out, that make it worth a listen, because it's some proper silly nonsense. And Cash, the eternal fork-out. This is the focal of MES Locus and Xyolthrep. Avoid respectable television and respectable newspapers. They have neither the talent of art or the instinctive snout of the media. What about Tim and Pip? What does that tag team think?
Well, I think I've already told you what Invisible Stu said.
Probably.
I like this. I mean, it plays the things that I enjoy anyway, the sort of Cod Lovecraft vibe, and that it's an exercise in intensity, the music, isn't it? Like everybody's already said, really, it's just creating a momentum that Smithy just sort of waxes over. This is a strong one on that album.
Sweet, isn't it? Late on, 2 of my favourite things are, number 1, when Mez includes a list of things in a song, and number 2, when Mez seems to cryptically be giving away some creative secrets. Both are in this track, and therefore it's top tier. He's calling it. And Mark's last command is possibly how he addresses Elaine's parents. I always wondered what Mark's wife's parents made of him. He can turn on the charm, but he is also various flavours of maniac. You can't beat a fall list song. We all like the fastest list song. So it is voting time, I believe. Which way we going, Pip?
Last Command for me.
Yes, okay. Sean, which way are you going on these two?
I'm going to go for a Kit Kat.
Guy, good.
Bing, bang, bong.
Ezra.
Well, if I was one of those cunty, like, kind of smash and grab DJs that does stuff like get the lyrics from a Wu-Tang track and puts them over the music to a Heinz Baked Beans advert, I would take the music from Inevitable and the lyrics from The Last Commands and combine the two, because I think then we'd have something that I would be well on the way to really fucking loving. But as it stands, I'll go with the Last Commands.
Indeed. Can't do that kind of shenanigans. We're not a mashup crew. We haven't those sample packs haven't even arrived yet.
But yeah.
Who else is Alistair? Have you told us?
No, but I'll try and provide a bit of balance and go for Inevitable.
Contrarians in it anyway. Xyolthrep goes through, which means that Hex, whatever that one's called, goes through, and M5 as well. Brilliant. Sean, thanks for dropping by and giving us your opinions on these front to back classic fall tracks.
All the classics, beginning to end. That's what you say.
Indeed. Well, your opinions are appreciated, and I only hope if Brix comes back, she's in a better mood.
I doubt she'll be coming back. I really do. I don't think it was the fawning that she expected from retail. From my retail anyway.
Did you not offer her a Kit Kat?
A kick-ass?
Oh, Kit Kat.
No Kit Kats. Kit Kats, it's Nestle, isn't it? So,
Yeah, bastards.
Big water in it.
Bastards.
Panda juice. All right, well, that's the end. Say bye, everyone. Thanks, Sean.
Bye, everyone.
Work.
Cheers,
Hello.
John.
All right.
See ya.
See you later, everyone. Bye.
See you soon. See you later. Let's see if I can switch it off this time.
Yeah.
Have a good look at your job.
You don't want to be looking at my balls in my pocket, do you? Where are we?
Friend will be the judge of that.
Hang on. No.
It is a man